have learnt about the central authority. That is the Mughals. Apart from the central authorities, we have the autonomous states. Autonomous states have the components Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. The initial beginning might be a bit difficult to understand the concepts. We have to deal with the first topic in details, that is the rise and fall of Bengal. It has direct relevance to your modern Indian syllabus. Today's chapter is Rise and Fall of Bengal. Before beginning, I believe that the slides are also being sent to you. So I'll try not to erase them. We'll return back to this slide. Or let me just remove it. One particular answer. There was a question, previous year's question paper that was asked. Is it visible? I believe yes. There was a question that I'm giving the excerpt. The third battle of Panipat. Third battle of Panipat was fought in 1761. Why so many empire shattering battles? Empire shattering battles happened in Panipat. Let us analyze this question. Please understand, this question is more associated with geography, and trends of medieval plus early modern warfare. It has little relevance to rather history. Nakshatra is writing availability of required resources, raw materials, terrain of the region. All right, you're trying to attempt this answer. Very good. These are valid points. Excellent. See, when you will be writing an answer, you will brainstorm the necessary points. What is the idea of writing an ideal answer? In the examination hall, we are looking at the average marks, especially in the GS papers, are declining every year. There is a general trend of the evaluators not offering marks. That can be one. The other, what we have noticed is that the students tend to answer their own question and often get diverted and not answer what is required. For that, I would recommend that you limit yourself to what exactly precisely has been asked. So mechanically limit yourself. For example, this question, we'll learn how to write an ideal answer. What is the thesis statement, key statement? What is the appendage, extension of a question, how to react? There are different appendages, extensions. For example, comment, elucidate, elaborate, critically examine. So these discuss, explain, these are extensions. On the basis of it, you have to react to the thesis statement. What is the thesis statement here in this question? The third battle of Panipat was fought in 1761. And then it is asking, this is the thesis statement, you have to react with these. Why so many battles or empire shattering battles happened in Panipat? That means it is precisely targeting causality. That means try to, whenever you will be given an event, history is dominated by event. And an event has basically two components, space and time. This is known as the spatio-temporal analysis. In simpler terms, spatio-temporal analysis helps you to write an introduction in a very simple and effective way. You do not have to overthink. See, for the third battle of Panipat, is happening in 1761. Please understand, UPSC does not have the liberty to ask about first and second battle of Panipat. It simply does not. Why? Because these events are not a part of your syllabus for your mains. UPSC can ask questions from mid 18th century and beyond, justifying the question. If you file an RTI, this will be the justification behind the setting of the question. They have the liberty to ask. Now, the component there is that empire shattering battles. Majority of you are attempting to answer. My older students are definitely there. They should. But before doing so, you have to understand what precisely about how to dismember the question. If you know the rationality behind dismemberment, it will be easier to predict or write answers when you will not be knowing the answer. Understand the rationality. Why am I spending so much of time in analyzing the statement, limiting my ambit? It will not be the case that you will be knowing all the components of the answer in a given 250 mark paper. By the right analysis, you will be able to produce valid points that will fetch you above average marks, and you will be closer to selection. It is not about content per se. It is about the art of extempore with minimum availability of information. Effective production. Your productivity should be improving. You should be able to write a lucid article where you will be lagging or lacking in availability of information. That is the art, what is expected from a prospective civil servant. Do you honestly think that, suppose we have learned about this chapter, do you think right now maybe you have availability of information? In the examination hall, you have to learn so many information, and probably you will be forgetting much more. What will you do then? That is the training here. The component empire shattering battles, we will enlist 3. We are deciphering this component. That will be the first battle of Panipat, happening in 1526. Why is it empire shattering? It is leading to the end of Lodhis in general, Lodhis in particular, and Delhi Sultanate in general, and empire shattering because it led to the establishment of Mughal Empire. Next component, the second battle of Panipat, 1556. Why it is empire shattering? That is end of Sur dynasty. and re-establishment of Mughals. Last, third battle of Panipat. 1761, that led to end of the dreams of Marathas to create a unified empire. Also, it shattered the hopes of, or it led to the further weakening of the Mughals. Further weakening of Mughals. And what did it lead to? Gave ample opportunities for one, rise of Sikh empire in the northwest. Rise of Sikh empire, then the rise of British. I am simply taking clauses from the thesis statement for this component, and I have explained that. Why it is empire shattering. Then, for given thesis statement, there are generally steps to think about. You can accept the validity of the thesis statement. You can accept, or you can reject or deny the validity of the thesis statement. That means for every statement provided, there is the path of acceptance and the path of denial. And there is a path beyond acceptance and denial. For an extreme statement, suppose, let us make an impact on your mind. Smoking is injurious to health. It is acceptable in rare cases, maybe it is acceptable in rare cases, maybe not acceptable. The exact situation might tell to what extent this statement is valid. Also, for every statement, there is a path beyond acceptance and rejection. For anything, there can be something more as compared to accepting it or rejecting it. This will help you think about how to argue. There will be certain points which will help you accept this statement. There will be certain points that will help you counter argue. See, what is happening with the comments? Too much of comments. Ramesh Karni is saying yesterday's class is not completed. Sir, you are inaudible. Pavitra is saying, sir. Sonal is saying previous. Lack of coordination. For all of you, the new students, you have to cope up with the class. And the more you comment, you will be engaged in reading these comments and you will get distracted. It is not healthy for you. Ramesh, I know where am I. I know the chapter is not completed. But if you do not focus, pay attention, you will be lost. You will understand nothing. What are these comments? I'm saying completely it is moving. What are these? Anything important? Somebody is asking. Acha. Dekho beta, pay complete attention. Imagine that you are in an offline class. There is pin drop silence, not a single comment. Understand where exactly we are standing, right? And we'll have a common understanding. We'll respect each other. If you understand what is the requirement, if you keep on commenting, I will lose my track. Hana? So you have to also maintain certain decorum. You have the liberty to tell anything to me. I will never say that you do not speak. But if you do understand that, I will keep on getting distracted. Can I finish the syllabus in this way? It is rational, right? Please cooperate. I know where exactly I am. The entire syllabus is printed in my mind. See, we are learning about the question. Why are we learning this syllabus? To answer questions, to get selection, right? So make sure our priorities, both of ours, is in the same page. We'll come back. So again, we are discussing about the component, that is empire shattering battles. So we have justified that. I'm telling you components as to what are the ideas you will be arguing and counter arguing. See, next you will be doing, at the end you will understand what exactly I have done. Then for this statement, you will argue accepting, you will accept this statement and you will try to reject or go towards a path, if any, beyond acceptance and rejection. Now understand what exactly I'm talking about. I'm accepting the statement, I will try to reject the statement, and I will think about if I have something beyond acceptance and rejection. Let us come back to the thesis statement. It is saying that Third Battle of Panipat, 1461, I will say that it is empire shattering. I have helped you argue the same, that here it was empire shattering. Now we will argue why, the causality. Why so many empire shattering battles happened in Panipat. It is enshrined, the clues are here, that is why we are elaborately discussing these points. All these invaders, what is their key understanding? All the invaders are from northwest India. The clue is embedded here itself. Here it will help you understand it with the help of a map. If all the invaders are from northwest, you have to understand the topography. For example, in the northwest, I'll use another slide for it. In the northwest, the attacks, invasions from northwest India. Here understand, the region here is the Thar Desert. Thar Desert that we name in India, this Thar Desert also in Pakistan, known as Cholistan. Again here mountainous regions. The ranges are Hindu Kush, Suleiman and Kirthar ranges. Kirthar ranges, and they are interspersed with passes. Important pass that it will help you come. You cannot use any other route. If you come down south, you will find the Run of Kutch. Also, because of the topography, mobilization of a large army, mobilization of large army, especially cavalry, was impossible. This is observation number 1. There are passes. For example, the passes are Khyber, Bolan and Gomal. These passes you can only enter. The most popular pass was Khyber. Even during ancient Persians, or the Greece or the Central Asians and later the Islamic invasions happened through these passes only. The second observation is that the clue is enshrined here in these trends. All these powers had their capital at Delhi. That means the foreign marauders, the invaders fought against a power centered around Delhi. Understood? To attack against a power in Delhi, their meeting point will be anything nearby. Because of the medieval system of administration and military, army was always at the direct disposal of the emperor. That means majority of the army will be stationed nearby to the sultan. This was the medieval order of things. In today, wherever are the choke points, strategic locations, generally this is the new form of defense. We deploy the army at strategic locations, at vulnerable sections. For example, had there been modern systems of strategic development, sultans would have protected, or the Rajputs would have protected the passes, because all the invasions happened here. But none of them felt the necessity of protecting the passes. None of them. Because the idea, the political thinking, the strategic military strategies were very different in the past. Now, so naturally, any point of contact, the ideal position of point of contact in most of the cases, especially these three, was Panipat. Now we will discuss about the strategic advantage of Panipat, suppose. Next is, that is, meeting point between any foreign invader and a power that controlled Delhi. Number one. Number two, large plain area, having availability of water, and grassland. That means food and fodder for cattle. For a large cavalry to meet Panipat met the conditions. See, when you are there in the examination hall, it is always will be very much commonsensical. You will not be knowing about the answer. Now, next component will be, see how we are structuring that. Let us come back to the exact question. Suppose third battle of Panipat, we are done with the answer basically. Third battle of Panipat was fought in 1761. Why so many empire shattering battles happened in Panipat? Introduction, you will talk about the battle of Panipats and the empire shattering character. Introduction done. Body, you will justify. Why so many battles? You will look about the conditions, the maps and also the strategic advantage of Panipat. Your answer is done. Conclusion, what will you do? What did I say? You will accept and maybe you will reject. That means you can simply argue that not all the empire shattering battles, you can add this point, battles happened in Panipat. This can be a way of showing that you have additional knowledge, precise understanding about the incident. You can talk about other important battles that happened between a power from northwest and a power centered around Delhi. For example, the Battle of Tarain. Also other critical battles, for example, Battle of Chandawar. Etc. They were also equally empire shattering. Also the other powers, especially the maritime forces. That means European powers, when they attacked, they had nothing to do with India's northwest. That means Panipat or that region no longer remained important. It is just because of the nature of the invasions and the point of contact between the two fighting forces that made Panipat important. This is how you can make a conclusion to this question. We'll try to once again attempt in another question. You'll pay complete focus. Gradually you will understand how you are thinking about it. I feel the question, it was more clumsy. If you have lost on it, follow the recording lectures. Once again, follow the process. We will mechanically learn how to answer questions. Again, I am giving you certain clues. We will repetitively analyze. For example, what are the steps? There is a question. Generally, it will have a thesis statement. And there will be an extension. If you face difficulties, you can make this diagram. You will make key highlights. Step 1. Key highlights of the statement. What will it help you to limit your answer? You will know what to write and more importantly, what not to write. Step 1. Step 2. Analyze or analysis with respect to extension or appendage. For example, comment. We will learn these meanings in the next classes, not today. Comment, discuss, elucidate, critically examine, etc. Then provide arguments in favor and against, and also if there are any beyond. This will constitute the body of your answer, and you will provide a conclusion. Now, basically for an answer writing, what you have to do, suppose an answer will constitute 150 words. Accordingly, you calculate. You will see in the examination hall, you are writing 150 words question, that is 10 questions of that sort, that is 1500 words. There is 250 words, 10 questions, that is total of 2500 words. A sum total of 4000 words, which is impossible, so you'll cut down words. For a 150 word, try to focus on 120 maximum. 100 to 120. That is why writing using graphs, charts, bullet points, it will fetch more marks. See, you will write introduction. Roughly 10 to 20 words. Conclusion, it can differ. Do not think that this is the ideal approach, you have to follow this model. That will be again 10 to 20 words. And often when we structure the answer, we try to provide more content, because I understand that you will retain limited portions and maybe there will be some difficulties, right? And your body, the rest. Roughly, that means 10 plus 10, 20, that will be roughly 80 to 100 words, right? Maybe less. Now understand, for a question, the body I have already mentioned, that is of 80 to 100 words. Roughly, that is 8 to 10 sentences. Try to make anywhere between 3 to 10 points, depending on your efficiency on that question. If you have 3 points, you will write 3 lines for each, and you will make it 9 lines. If you have 10 points, you will write 1 line for each. The richer the content the multifaceted it will become. Now, whenever you will be jotting down the points, for suppose point 1, point 2, 3, 4, etc., you will sequence them. You will often find out point number 1 is purely imaginary, maybe garbage. What you are supposed to do is that from point 2 onwards, you will start writing productive. If you think that in the examination hall you will be pulling the stunts, all you need to do here is the syllabus, completion of the syllabus. Trust me, there is a bigger shock coming. So here, then next step will be sequencing, and then elaboration. This is the ideal way of answering. We'll begin with today's session. We'll start with the component that is rise and fall of Bengal. Again, in my experience, I have seen that we have learned a lot of information, we do not know how to channelize them. The lecture I have taken, the half an hour I have spent, it is going to be more fruitful. That is not written, unfortunately, in any book. What I'll be teaching now is mentioned in any book. So your priority, pay attention, write them down, try to implement. If you face there any problem, you let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you out. First of all, I'll explain the definition or the concept of an autonomous state. The concept of an autonomous state. See, it is rooted in the idea of Mughal administration. What about the Mughal administration? Mughal administration can be understood as having, Mughal administration is an example of a military state. What is the definition of a military state? A military state means there is no difference between the civil administration and the military administration. For every administrative unit within the Mughals, they have 2 components. One, Diwani or the revenue, and Nizamat or the military. Please keep on writing alongside. And as I have explained, it is a military state. That means Nizamat will have both military and police functions. That means during war, it will play the role of keeping the country safe. During peacetime operations, they will maintain law and order and also dispense justice. This is the definition of a military state. Now, my question to you, is India a military state now? The answer is no. Here, for civilian purposes, very good, all of you. For civilian purposes, you have police, and for military purposes, there is a different entity. They are not the same. For maintaining law and order, peaceful operations, the military is never deployed. Very good. Now, another component of the Mughal administration is separation of power. That means what? Separation of power so that concentration may lead to a rise of a monarch who will challenge the authority of the king. Naturally, if the powers are separated, that means what? A diwan, that means holder of the position of diwani, and a nizam, also known as nazim in eastern India, holder of the position of nizamat. They should be separate, because if a person becomes same, they will assume power. But this happened in Bengal in the year 1717 under Murshid Quli Khan. He was already the Diwan of Bengal. He was also given the additional charge of Nizam in the year 1717. Thereby, Bengal became the first autonomous state. This is the definition. Keep on writing, you will consolidate. First, I'll give you some time to write down this diagram. Please write it down. If you do not understand, please ask. Biplav is asking, Sudala, Anusha, what do you want me to repeat? Ritvik is saying, is China and North Korea military state? I cannot comment on that. China does have separate civilian operations and also separate. For Korea, it is very difficult to understand. Korea maybe, but in modern times, the administrative mechanisms are basically not a military state. Any medieval rule, be it the Ottomans or the Habsburg Empire, the Romanovs, all were very similar to that of a military state. Later on, any modern justice system, they are. What about Myanmar? They are thin line. Again, you cannot compare a medieval justice system with the present world. All right. A majority of you wants repetition. Do focus, please. Acha, who is sending links? Who is Yash? शुक्रिया. कोई ना मैंने कहा. I will dictate for, sir, please repeat Murshid Qali. Write it down. I'll dictate the points, you write down. Bengal became, first point, Bengal became the first autonomous state. Bengal became the first autonomous state. In 1717, under the leadership of Murshid Quli Khan, under the leadership of Murshid Quli Khan, I have written Murshid Quli. Why have you written Murshid Qali Park? It is right written. Right, under the leadership of Murshid Quli Khan, full stop. Next point, Murshid Quli Khan. In short, you can also write down MQK. Murshid Quli Khan was already appointed in the position of Diwan, or appointed as Diwan of Bengal. Appointed Diwan of Bengal. In bracket, once again write down Revenue Department, collection of taxes, managing of the revenue. Full stop. Alongside, keep on writing. In 1717, Mughal Emperor Farrukh Shiar also appointed him, that means Murshid Quli Khan also appointed him as the Nazim. Yesterday we have discussed, this is the corruption of the word Nizam. If you face difficulty, you can also write Nizam, it will not be wrong. Full stop. Thus, Bengal became the first autonomous state. Bengal became the first autonomous state. That means I am using the term autonomous. Am I saying independent? No. That means what? Murshid Quli Khan continued to associate himself with the Mughals. Write it down, you will forget. Write down. Next point, it did not mean that Bengal severed, that means detached, SEVERED, severed all her ties or all its ties with the Mughals. For example, basically you are trying to understand the association between Bengal and Mughals. Number one, or simply you will write in bullet points, it will be easier for you to comprehend. Coins were minted in the name of Mughal Emperor. Next association, officers appointed in the name of Mughal family members. Next is Mughals mentioned in khutbah or the Friday prayer. Khutbah is the discussion after the Friday prayer. And sent annual tributary plus accepted sovereignty. These are the components which helps us understand why it was autonomous and not independent. This is very valid. Kindly write it down. If you have, tell me. I'll proceed forward. Done. All right. Change the paragraph. I will jump forward certain points. Acha, just write down one point. Murshid Quli Khan transferred, that means shifted the capital. Murshid Quli Khan shifted the capital from Dhaka to Murshidabad. From Dhaka to Murshidabad. From Dhaka to Murshidabad. That makes sense. Murshid Quli Khan and Murshidabad. Murshidabad present in today's northern Bengal. Sir, what is the last word written? Sovereignty or suzerainty. Both are right. That means they accepted the Mughals to be the ultimate emperor, Shahanshah. Bhanu is saying that as per spectrum, MQ Murshid Quli Khan is independent state. How can a person be an independent state? And also, spectrum is a reference book, not a textbook. We do not take spectrum very seriously. Don't worry. Although your approach is encourageable, don't worry, Bhanu, I take personal responsibility. Right? Spectrum is an information book. You will find more errors like that. You do not have to worry. But nonetheless, if you find some anomaly, you can talk to me. I'll help you out. Chandan is saying, Sir, Bipan Chandra. I am not Bipan Chandra. Acha, Bipan Chandra, is it a textbook? All right, Bipan Chandra is a textbook. Yes, we take Bipan Chandra very seriously. Satish Chandra, textbook. We accept, take it seriously. Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, textbook, we take it seriously. Screen is not clearly visible. Do not tell me I am guarding it once again. Murshidabad. Murshidabad. Nayan is asking which year he shifted the capital. I'll talk to him tonight. So far, I do not know. And it is not important. Yes? Acha, 4 point again. These are the 4 points. Sir, is Diwani and Nizamat also known as dual system? No, absolutely not. Sir, where this place is located in? I just said Murshidabad is in northern Bengal. 3rd point, Mughals mentioned in khutbah. That means the Jummah, the Friday, that is the prayers are done. Generally, in the Islamic world, the congregatory prayers that happens on Fridays. And after the prayer, there is a general discussions. In those discussions, the emperor was mentioned. That means still there was the association for the same, right? Kumar is asking, Nizamat same as Fauzdari? Not at all. Civil and criminal laws, that is different. We will deal with that later. Although some associations is there, I cannot say there is no linkage whatsoever. Let's begin. Continue. It will take some time for you to acclimatize. Kindly proceed forward. Write down. Ali Vardi Khan. Next. Sorry. I was, you had dictated that Murshid Quli Khan shifted the capital from Dhaka to Murshidabad. Next point. He also paid attention. To collection of land revenue. / improvement of agriculture. Both are synonymous rather. Improvement of agriculture. And trade and commerce. Trade and commerce can be both inland and also maritime, seaborne trade. That means land-based trade and seaborne trade. You can add another line if you want to. That primary export of Bengal of 17th and early 18th century. 17th and early 18th century were finished goods. Are finished goods. Rishti, dekho beta, you have to keep up the pace. I'm trying to be as slow as possible. Also, in most of the cases, I do not remember what I have said before. Finished goods mean in contrast to raw materials. What are the finished goods? Examples: cotton textiles, silk, saltpeter, clarified butter, etc. This list is the exports of Bengal. Of 17th and early 18th century. Now here was a prelims question. If you change the time period, the export basket will also be changing. Try to understand. This is the period where it marks the heightened economy of Bengal. And this is basically the pre-industrial Europe, pre-industrial Britain. That means industrialization did not happen there. If I change the time period, I make a contrasting analysis. Suppose if I say the export items of 19th century Bengal, That means it is coinciding with the industrial Britain. What will the export item? India will no longer be supplier of raw material. It will be a supplier of, no longer be a supplier of finished goods. They will become a supplier of raw materials. I'll write here raw cotton and silk. I'll write down indigo. They are the key products, the dye, natural dye. I will write down tea, coffee, so not coffee, tea, raw cotton, indigo, tea. I will also write, these are the industrial inputs. Anything else? You can write also sugar. Right. That means what I intend to say is that they will be supplier of raw material and also food. The export basket, yes, opium, I remember. India or Bengal was also exporting opium, especially to balance the trade deficit with China. These were the export basket. Change the paragraph. See, the association with the Mughals will end with rise of Ali Vardi Khan. Ali Vardi Khan will assume power and start acting as an independent state. Write a few lines. Write down. Change the paragraph and please continue writing. Ali Vardi Khan rose to power. Ali Vardi Khan rose to power by 1740-41. He was a military general basically who toppled the government and became a sultan. He was initially a military general in the Bengal court and he usurped the throne. And from the period of Ali Vardi Khan, you can understand, Bengal started acting as an independent state. That means gradually they will start detaching, severing the ties with the Mughals. Next point. Ali Vardi Khan was succeeded by his grandson. He was succeeded by his grandson, Siraj-ud-Dawla. In 1756. Who had both internal challenges and external threats from British. External threat or threats from the British. Kritika, you are saying 1756. Did I say 1757? No. He assumed power in 1756. That's fine. I'll be changing the slide. Briefly, you have to cover these topics. We are basically moving towards the Battle of Plassey. The internal challenges, what happened, who are the stakeholders, unnecessary information. Please do not go with them. We'll learn about the Siraj-ud-Dawla, and challenges from the from the British. First point, the issue of Dastak. Kindly make this diagram, by the way. Issue of Dastak. Next is construction of moat. We'll explain every point. Construction of moat. And the Krishna Ballav incident. And the Krishna Ballav incident. I'll explain all of them. Beneath that, point by point. Kindly write down the first point, the issue of Dastak. Write down. Dastak refers to trading pass that was issued under the provisions of Farooq Siyar Farman. This point was asked in your prelims. Issued under the provisions of Farooq Siyar Farman. Full stop. The Dastak was given to British East India Company. British East India Company to conduct free trade. British East India Company to conduct duty-free trade. Duty-free trade. The condition was that you pay an annual fixed amount and you conduct the duty-free trade. You do not have to pay any additional taxes, any additional levy. Next point. In bracket you can write down, in exchange of a fixed annual payment. Next point, however, the company officials misused the Dastak. To carry out their private trade. That was not the trade of the company, but their private trade. It was unacceptable to the young Nawab. Unacceptable to the young Nawab. Next point was the construction of moats. Write down in India, first point, in India, it was the environment of heightened tension between Britain and France. Full stop. Next point. To safeguard British factories from possible French attack. Trenches were dug alongside fortifications. Alongside fortifications. Alongside fortifications. Trenches were dug alongside fortifications. Do you understand this point? Moat means along the factories. What do I mean by a factory? Is it an industrial complex? No. A factory is a storehouse or an inventory. Please remember, the British East India Company, were they manufacturers themselves? No. The Britishers in India were traders, middlemen, intermediaries. From the country, they would collect the finished goods and bring it to their factories. And from the factories, they will take it through ships back to Europe and sell. Britishers thereby in this period were known as Banians. Very close, again, corruption of the word Bania. The trading class of our country. This was also asked in your UPSC prelims. So you understand the concept of factory? If there is war, definitely French would try to steal goods and the factories have to be safeguarded. Now, this is the environment of Anglo-French wars, Carnatic wars. The British were safeguarding their factories, but here it will offend the Sultan. Siraj will think that it is challenging his sovereignty. You write at this point, these fortifications challenged the sovereignty of the young monarch. challenge the sovereignty of Siraj. Next point, Krishna Ballav incident. Krishna Ballav incident. Write down, Krishna Ballav was responsible for financial fraud. Krishna Ballav was responsible for financial fraud. And despite repeated requests, he refused to meet Siraj. And took refuge, REFUGE, and took refuge under the company. This angered Siraj. Naturally, Krishna Ballav felt that British were more important. Siraj was not. This angered any autocrat, any monarch. Change the paragraph, please, and write down. Keep on writing. Siraj finally decided to attack British settlements at different places. For example, Murshidabad and Calcutta. Right? In the meantime, the alleged black hole incident took place. The alleged black hole incident took place. Put the heading, black hole incident and its critical evaluation. Write down, the black hole incident was narrated by J.Z. Holwell. According to which 146 Englishmen sorry, 146 Englishmen, including women and children. were kept inside a small cell. Were kept inside a small cell overnight. And only 23 survived. The next morning, and only 23 survived the next morning, and the rest died. The rest died due to asphyxiation or suffocation. Change the paragraph. However, contemporary historian Ghulam Hussain, in his work Sayr ul Mutakharin, does not refer to any such incident. Does not refer to any such incident. Does not refer to any such incident. Next point. It seems a lot of controversy goes around the incident. A lot of controversies goes around the incident. By the way, this was asked in your assistant commandant paper, this book. A lot of controversies goes around regarding the authenticity of the incident. Authenticity of the incident. Full stop. Next point. It is highly probable. It is highly probable that the company officials made up this incident to portray the monarch, to portray the Nawab as a barbarian and gain the support of the British higher officers for the access to the army. Full stop. Very logical. See, a trading company, East India Company did not have a standing army. It depended on the British army as such. Now, why will the British army give access? They have to portray on humanitarian grounds that the monarch has lost his mind. So that was a logical interpretation. They had to create such an incident. Two same contemporary writers, J.Z. Orwell mentioning, he not. If such a impactful incident had happened, there was a high probability Ghulam Hossain might have referred to this incident. This did not happen. Next point, immediately after, the British under the leadership of Clive, that is Robert Clive, British under the leadership of Clive defeated Siraj, and the Treaty of Alinagar was signed. Treaty of Alinagar was signed. This is the beginning, initial months of 1757. January basically. Treaty of Alinagar was signed. These will be giving you certain clues. There was a question in last year that despite numerical strength and all the equipments, why did Indian rulers lose? Here, write down as note. Beneath that, please write down as note. Siraj-ud-Dawla was not militarily weak. To be defeated by the British. Full stop. The particular environment was dominated by the fear. Of a possible Afghan attack. Please remember, 4 years later, in 1761, the Afghans will make a full-fledged attack under Ahmad Shah Abdali or Ahmad Shah Durrani. During this period, Afghans were constantly coming and raiding India. Those were the time Siraj-ud-Dawla was fearful of an Afghan attack. And he felt that the bigger threat is Afghans. Let us settle with the British first. Full stop. Siraj thought to address the problem of the British to be handled after the Afghan threat was gone. Full stop. The insult at Alinagar. Alinagar is basically renamed of Calcutta. Ali Vardi Khan was the grandfather of Siraj-ud-Dawla. He renamed Calcutta, and that is Alinagar basically. The insult at the Treaty of Alinagar or at Alinagar was remembered by Siraj. That became the primary reason. Of Battle of Plassey. That commenced soon after. Right? We'll start with the Battle of Plassey, but unfortunately not today. We'll deal with the Battle of Plassey and beyond, whatever that has happened, from your subsequent classes in your next session, whenever it will be scheduled. Right?